they reached out to me. They saw that I was a little bit more of a runner. And like, look, I wasn't a runner to the extent that I am now. I was just running a little bit more than normal. And I posted a lot about running. And so they're like, oh, you're a runner. You're probably good at this. You should go.
They threw you into the ultra, bro. I saw.
That was my fourth ever Spartan race. But bro, the first one that I did, they sent me to Jacksonville, Florida, hot as balls. And they put me in the super elite category. Bro, the first race I did, there were 6 of us, 5 best in the world. And then me, who I don't know what the fuck's going on. They did it in a certain, in like a track style. So you had to run like 4 laps. Bro, there was like 15 obstacles per lap. Dude, I got lapped by everybody. Like people are watching, they're like, who let the freaking Make-A-Wish kid into this?
Welcome visionaries, dreamers, and trailblazers to the Casually Ambitious podcast. I'm your host, Chase Price, and I am thrilled to embark on this journey with you. Here, we dive deep into the realms of wellness, entrepreneurship, and mindset. Let's build a life we love while loving the life we live. The adventure to a more mindful, purposeful, and casually ambitious life starts now.
Bro, what's up? How are you, man?
I got you with the buzz cut, the fresh cut for the summer.
Yeah, I'm getting a hair transplant on Thursday. So,
okay. What does that look like?
Dude, I have no idea. So when I had hair or when I had longer hair, I was always stressed that my hairline was like receding.
Yeah.
And, social media, a lot of people say a lot of things. It usually doesn't get to me, but when they make fun of the hairline, it bothered me. And so I started looking into hair transplants and, found a guy in New York, Mount Sinai, that seems legit. And so he was like, we'll strengthen the hairline here, whatever, get a little thickness. But I haven't buzzed my head since I was in like 4th grade. So buzzed my head and I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like happy with this. And so, just have him bring it down a little bit, thicken it here, then we're good. But I'm glad we didn't do this next week because I think my head would look a little bit terrifying, like Mad Max type stuff,
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if you were still in Copenhagen because I saw you were just in Copenhagen. What was that for?
Yeah, it was my girlfriend's 30th birthday.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love that.
So I got a trip to Copenhagen. Never been. I've always wanted to go. And so, we went there for 4 days and then got back last night.
Nice. I've actually been to Copenhagen before. People were stupid friendly. Like, I don't know if that was the experience for you, but it was like incredible the amount of hospitality people had over there.
Yeah, everyone's really nice. Like if you go to the local spots that are more like traditional Danish places, I thought that was incredible. Like I wish we could have just gone to Danish, everything the whole time. But very nice, very hospitable. It's a cool tourist city. We walked the whole thing. So I like that about some of those European countries, how walkable they are. It's fun. I enjoyed it.
Cool, dude. I'm fired up because I just spent the last 2 hours just doing some research and finding out as much as I could about you. So I'm fired up because we have a lot of similarities kind of in our come up story, a lot of differences, but there was some things I discovered that I'm very excited to chat about. So I'm curious. I know you're from Texas, right? You're from Lubbock, Texas.
Yep.
Moved to New York. You live in New York City. Maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I think is when you moved. So what prompted that move for you in the first place to say, all right, I'm ready to kind of leave home base here in Texas. I'm ready to kind of go for it and try and live the dream out here in New York.
Yeah, I think, the condensed version of the story, we can obviously dive into it a little bit more if you'd like, is I was in college. I was going to Texas Tech University. I had done that for about a year. And man, I was just really, really bored in school. And the reason I was bored is, you might have a similar upbringing. It's like when we're kids, your parents like go to college, get an education, get a job, make money, right? That seemed to be the single track there. Well, when I started a 4-year university, I felt like I was just spending all the money I was earning, right? Like I had a decent job. I was like a waiter for a little bit and then went and worked in a hospital for a little bit. And then I started personal training while I was still in school and actually making some decent money. But everything I was earning, I was literally just spending, right? And at the time I was studying nutrition and I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to be a nutritionist. I don't, my objective was never really to work with, clients that were diabetic or pregnant. And I've dealt with that since, but at the time I was like, I want to work with athletes. I want to work with young hustlers. I want to work with people who I'm more attracted, magnetized towards, right. To their energy, to their vibes and everything. And so, it got to a point where I just had an opportunity to move to New York City, right? I had a modeling agency. They hit me up kind of out of the blue on Facebook DMs,
Wow.
That was before, Catfish and To Catch a Predator came out. I was like, oh, this is fine. And so I flew out to New York. I had a good time there. Did some modeling stuff for like 7 days. And I was like, yo, New York is where I need to be. And the reason I felt that way is that it seemed like there was so much energy and possibilities in the city that, let's say I didn't have a degree, or I didn't have all, the salad of alphabet letters behind my name that show people how smart I am, it wouldn't matter, is what I felt like. And so, that agency wanted me to move to New York full time. I had an opportunity to do so. So I just kind of dropped out, moved up here, did modeling for like 5 seconds, hated it, thought it was terrible. And then switched over to personal training. And, it's interesting. I was an Orange Theory coach. So I started with group fitness, right? So I was Orange Theory. I was able to do that in New York City. But even when I was in high school, I remember watching like How I Met Your Mother, the TV series. And it always talked about New York City being the greatest city in the world. And then, when the YouTube stuff started taking off, I would keep up with a couple of guys that worked in New York City. And what they would always say is like, the money is in New York City. Like, if you want to make money, the people with money are in New York City. You need to be here if you want that, if you want to achieve that. And again, tying it back to the school thing, I thought that, look, if I get this degree, it's not going to equate to me making any more finance. Like, I'm not going to be able to outpace whatever I'm spending on school, is what I personally felt like. And I wasn't going to do it in Lubbock, Texas. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the place where the most money is. I'm going to go there when I'm young and have a lot of energy. I was 23. And I'm just going to give myself like 6 months to 12 months to figure it out. And that was kind of the promise I made to my parents. Parents weren't happy about that originally when I told them I wanted to drop out to go be like an underwear model. They were like, that is weird, right? So, and my mom, like, she's like the best. She dropped out of college to have me. So she had me when she was 20. So I was, probably not super planned, but she had to put some things on the back burner for herself. And I think a big dream of hers was to have me finish school. And maybe I'll do that one day in the future. But at that specific time, I was like, Mom, give me 6 months to go try to make a name for myself in, this crazy city. If it doesn't work out, I'll come back and finish school. That's fine. And I think 3 months in, she kind of knew that I was going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
That's kind of the roundabout way of how I got here.
I love that. Ton I want to unpack there. One of the reasons why I said I resonate with you so much earlier is because I'm a natural risk taker. Sounds like you kind of are too. I know you've started your own gym. You moved out to New York where you really didn't know anybody. I bought a one-way ticket to Vietnam back in the day, and I just kind of wanted to go for it. Like, I have that same type of ambition. Yeah, I wanted to. So I actually did graduate. I didn't drop out, but I took a 5th year, took my victory lap, finished that up, and then I was like, you know what, dude, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. You probably felt the same way. It's like this kind of do or die of like, I have to at least go for it and try this. And for me, it was building a media company at the time. I was heavy into photo and video work, and I wanted to start a video production company. So I was like, let me go out and build this production company and build my portfolio from going abroad. This is when travel vlogging was really big. Sam Colder, like all these guys, right? So I was heavily influenced by that, but I bought the one-way ticket similar to how you kind of decided, let me go out to New York. Let me try and make this happen. Very curious about the modeling thing. So how quickly did you realize like, oh, fuck, this isn't what I thought it was. This isn't going to be for me.
Bro, almost immediately. It's like, dude, I grew up in Lubbock, Texas, right? And it was weird how I got into like the photos and the modeling stuff. So I was dating a girl in college who was on the beauty pageant circuit. So with beauty pageant circuit, you got to take a lot of photos. And so I would just go with her to some of these shoots. And in Lubbock at the time, it's a Bible Belt, not a lot of guys are doing the whole modeling thing. Obviously, Instagram has changed that a lot. But this is 2013, 2014, before a lot of that had taken off and become what it is today. And so, I would hop in photos with her and post them on social media, and they did pretty well. And so, someone reached out to me, but, I always thought that I was like a pretty attractive guy. I'd like to think that I lead with logic. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm Brad Pitt, right? Like, but I'm like, I'm not like a 3, And so I was like, okay, I got something going for me. This is okay, bro. I came to New York City and I felt like a New York 2.5. I would walk into these like modeling castings.
Yeah.
And it's like walking into a car dealership, right? You walk in and there's 18 different versions of the same model, just slight differences. Like you'd have a guy who's maybe a tiny bit taller than me, or like a guy with blue eyes, or, somebody with tattoos. I didn't have tattoos at the time, somebody with tattoos. And so you get engulfed in this world where and here's what I personally felt. Maybe not all models feel this way, but I personally felt like my self-worth, my value, whatever I viewed myself as was completely up to this individual who I didn't even know.
Mm.
And the straw that broke the camel's back, I went on this casting, and the casting was the way they described it was kind of like P90X, right? So it was like, we need a group fitness instructor who's going to work out and talk at the same time. That is literally my shit, right?
You're
That's
right.
what I have done since I was 21 years old. Like, I'm not trying to sound braggadocious, but I know what I'm good at, and I'm very good at that. Dude, I did this casting for 3 minutes, and this guy sitting behind a laptop, kind of like I am now, probably 500 pounds, right? And this is not to nag on this guy. It's just the exact situation that was happening. This guy is like 500 pounds, barely looks at me. He's like typing, whatever. And he stops me 3 minutes in. And he's like, hey, like, I just don't think this is for you. I don't know what your job is, but I wouldn't recommend group fitness. And like, he's saying this while I'm the head coach of an Orange Theory Fitness in Manhattan, arguably the most competitive group fitness environment on the entire planet. Yeah. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And so, dude, after that, I was just done. I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to do the modeling stuff. I'll take some underwear photos here and there because it boosts my social media and I get a lot of followers from that. But dude, I'm going to lean into fitness. And even aside from that, dude, it's like these models that, and some of them do really well. The top 1% are going to kill it. But the guys and girls that are just grinding every day, bro, these brands, these people, they don't pay you for 90 days. So, right. Unless you're comfortable going 3 months without getting a paycheck and then hoping to follow up and they'll get back to you, it's like, dude, it's a tough world, man. And I was not about that life, like I'd like to take more of a bet on myself and control what I can control. And in group fitness, I could control that. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to be the best instructor in the room, and I needed to make sure that everybody felt seen, heard, and cared for. And that led to my success there. And so that was kind of my micro modeling experience. It was interesting for sure.
That's so funny that the guy kind of called you out on the spot and you're like, bro, this is my shit. Like, that's
like,
wild.
It was like one of the moments like, do you know who I am?
And you'd been doing Orange Theory for probably a while at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like 4 or 5 years in, man. Yeah. It's like, that's what I do. And so it blew my mind. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I know that you mentioned that you were also a bank teller, a waiter, worked in a hospital for a little bit. I saw one of your videos that you said you got fired for a bad attitude. I'm curious which one that was at and what's the story behind that one.
Yeah. So that one was the hospital job. So this is probably 2014, 2015. I worked for this company called Germ Blast. And they're a great, I'm sure they've been I haven't kept up with them, but I'm sure they killed it during COVID because their whole thing was they would go in and basically disinfect, sanitize a room or whatever. It killed staph, MRSA. I would imagine it would kill, COVID-19, whatever. But so I'm sure they're killing it. But, I started there when I was about, 21 years old. So I was really young. And, again, not to sound braggadocious, any job that I have gone into, I typically grow pretty quickly. I'd like to think that I'm pretty professional. I'd like to think that I represent most of the jobs that I work with well. And that's exactly what happened at Germ Blast. It was a situation where I came in when I was 21 or so. I worked under the higher up guys. I learned from them. I grew and developed. I got to a point where, I was kind of traveling across Texas and I was doing what they called site surveys. So I would go into, a school, a hospital, whatever it may be. I would test a bunch of rooms, tell them what service I would recommend for them, and then connect them with our sales guys, right? And again, 21 years old, I'm meeting with 30, 40, 45-year-olds, like heads of surgery. Like, I'm meeting with interesting groups. And so, it got to a point where they would say like, look, Trevor, we love what you're doing. We're going to move you out to Dallas. We're going to pay you $100,000 a year, and we're going to give you your own team. So they're like, we're going to give you your own little piece of the business in Dallas. And it was kind of a gentleman's handshake. It was a semi-promise. And so that fired me up. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to go out. I'm going to kill it in Dallas. Like, I'm going to make a name for myself. This is my career. This is what I'm going to be doing. Dude, as soon as they promised that, like, things got a lot worse. Like, I started working, 12 to 14 hour days. Every time I would have an evaluation, they'd be like, no, you're still too young. We don't feel confident and whatever it may be. And so then, animosity starts to grow. I got a chip on my shoulder. I had kind of a bad attitude. I would be a lot more negative towards the job. But at the same time, like, I wasn't able to work out. I wasn't eating consistently healthy. That was probably the worst mental feeling I had in my life when it came to my physical and mental well-being. It's like I wasn't able to work out as much. I wasn't able to live a healthy lifestyle that I had done since high school. And so I developed animosity, and eventually I had a meeting where they terminated my employment. They said, you have a bad attitude in the team, and they were so right. I was like trying to stage a coup. You know what I mean? Like, I was trying to get people on my side of like, place sucks. We should all leave. I attribute that partially to my youth, to being younger and maybe not taking a step back and seeing where they were coming from. Like I just assumed everything should be handed to me because of the work that I thought that I was doing. But at the same time, it was, like most people say, it was probably one of the better things that happened to me because, after that firing, and that's the only time I've been fired in my life, as of now, knock on wood. But, that moment is the first time I was like, okay, whatever I do going forward when it comes to, being financially stable and free, like I want to make sure that it's something that I love. And so that was the last job I had that wasn't fitness. And ever since then, it's been fitness all the way through. And, let's say I didn't get fired and they did give me that, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today. And so, I'm really thankful for it happening when it did, how it did, and everything that came from that.
So when did you realize fitness and coaching could be that career for you? That like full-time opportunity? Was it an Orange Theory opportunity that first presented itself, or what did that look like?
Yeah, I would say it was a balance of starting to coach at Orange Theory and then also starting to work at a small semi-private gym in Lubbock, Texas at the time.
Okay.
Because dude, once, Orange Theory, when I began there, they didn't have an open coaching slot. So I actually started by working the front desk. So I would do front desk work there, just kind of learning the back end of the business, which that was fine, right? But you make, I don't know, I was probably making like $7 an hour, whatever minimum wage was at that time. But during that period, I actually had a chance to meet with an independent training gym in Lubbock and start working there. And dude, as soon as it was actually wild how it happened. I'm not sure how it happened, but I built out a book of probably 15 to 20 clients within 3 months. And that gym was in a great position because they fed their trainers clients, right? So they would feed their trainers clients. I think I would charge like $70 a session and I would make like 40 of that. And so, bro,
that's pretty good.
Dude, yeah, $7 an hour at one place into 40. Are you kidding me? And all I have to do is talk to people and make sure they don't injure themselves and like help them achieve their fitness goals. That's a dream, right? And so once I started getting booked out with clients, and then once I started coaching classes at Orange Theory, once I got that opportunity, I was like, there's a lot of chances in fitness, whether it's in person, high ticket item in person stuff, or it's group fitness, getting a lot of people in a room at a lower ticket. Like that was my jam. I loved it. Like I felt like I was a performer when it came to Orange Theory. I got to be on a mic. I got to, feed off the energy of the room and bring the energy to the room. And then with the one-on-one stuff, I got to really dive into the nitty gritty of like, oh, well, you have shoulder injury, you have knee injury. Like, how are we going to maneuver around that? And how are we going to make sure that you still see some sort of progress while maybe not being able to do the same movement patterns as most others? And so once those two things started really clicking and I got a lot busier, that's, I think, when I started to, again, generate some animosity towards school. Because, again, for where I was, my rent was $350 a month for a house, I think. And I was probably making, I don't know, like 50, 60 grand over the course of the year. I was like, what do I need school for? Yeah. Like me having a nutrition degree, me having a registered dietitian degree, it's not going to help me with what I'm doing now. So I was like, I need to do something that's going to help me grow and develop without spending 20, 30 grand a year, whatever I was paying in tuition at Texas Tech.
Your experience with, Orange Theory, not only in Texas, but then moving to New York as well and working with them there for a couple of years. There's pros and cons that come with these big box gyms, right? Like anything. What were some of the positive learning things that you learned from Orange Theory and, this other private gym and some of these other experiences that you took into then creating your own platform and, eventually your own gym?
So the pros of working at Orange Theory is a few things, especially when I moved to New York. Because again, I think New York, specifically in 2017, 2018, I really think that it was the mecca and the gold standard of group fitness and what group fitness embodies. Because there's just so many people here. They go to Barry's, they go to Orange Theory, they went to Fitting Room, to SLT, like wherever it might be, right? Like group fitness, I feel like really is the upper echelon or was the upper echelon here. And so when I got to come into that, I was able to learn from just some really great individuals. I had a great team around me. I had really good higher ups that I was able to observe what they did well, maybe areas they could improve and implement that into, my own abilities inside a group fitness studio. So I think as far as developing a better skill set and becoming a better coach, that was the best thing that they offered for me for Orange Theory. The sad double-edged sword of that is as I grew within Orange Theory, you learn more about, the back end of that and like how much income they're generating. And then you start to, again, develop a little bit of animosity. You're like, okay, I have a 98% utilization rate. So that means 98% of my classes are completely sold out, right? And I'm coaching, let's say, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 classes a year. Okay, those are sold out. Everyone's paying $30 a class. I've got 35 people in my class, right? So that's bringing in 700 plus or something like that per class, and I'm taking home 115.
Right.
So it gets to a point where you're like, this kind of sucks, And it's interesting because it's like, look, people don't go to these classes specifically for the instructors in the beginning, right? They have the brand, right? It's like going to McDonald's. You have the brand recognition, but maybe you find out you have your favorite cashier there at the same time. So you're going to continue going. And so I eventually just got to a point where I was like, okay, look, I have an opportunity to go and start my own thing. I've done this Orange Theory thing for 4 or 5 years, 3 years in the NYC market. I've learned, I feel like, as much as I can. But, like you've probably experienced in your life, like you're not going to grow just from doing the same thing year over year over year. It's comfortable and it's great, but it's like no one's going to write a freaking book about you, And so it just got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm going to go try to start my own thing. And that's where probably the second best thing that came out of Orange Theory is that I had kind of ingrained myself in their community, that when I left, I actually had quite a few people that followed.
They followed you. Yep.
Correct. Yeah. So my first 3 clients I got for in-person came from Orange Theory. And then, as sad as this sounds, COVID happening was probably the best thing for my business.
Oh, wow.
Because, dude, all the group fitness studios shut down pretty much overnight. And I took on probably 20 new clients overnight. Right.
Wow.
So I took 20 or so people, most of them from Orange Theory. I was able to train them virtually all throughout COVID. And then, when New York City started opening back up a little bit, especially when it was nice outside and I could train outdoors, like in parks and whatnot, I just retained probably 75 to 80% of those clients. And now that was the foundation of my personal training business. And that is the only reason I have been able to open up this gym. Like without that 2020 to 22, those 2 years, I wouldn't have this gym. I would still probably just be trying to hustle for a couple of in-person sessions. Like that was truly the springboard that really blew up my business.
I'm glad you explained that too, because that was going to be my next question is, did you build the foundation of your business? I would have guessed off of social and leveraging your socials and kind of pulling clients in from that area. Was that also a big contributor to that at that time, or did you not really have the following? What did that look like at the time as far as the social side of things?
I think it was definitely helpful.
Yeah.
As you probably know, it's like your social media is almost your business card nowadays, and so having good numbers there is always helpful. I don't think it's necessarily hurtful. And I would say that with the social media aspect, that's been more helpful for my online training business. So I do online coaching and whatnot for, runners, people that want to lift, whatever, pretty much anybody. I think that has been more helpful specifically because it's just me communicating online through my online platforms. With that being said, I would say out of the 4 new clients in person that I've taken on in the last 6 months, 2 of them came just from a random DM. And so that's nice as well. But again, specifically during the time when I was growing faster than I had ever expected, I think it was this perfect concoction of all fitness studios shutting down, those people that had religiously taken my classes, seeing me promote that side of the business. So to your point, yes, I think me promoting like on Instagram stories and whatnot, hey, I'm doing virtual sessions. If you don't have a trainer or if you need somebody to help lead you through a workout, either take my class I'm teaching on Monday nights for groups where it's a lower ticket item, or hire me for one-on-ones. We can do 1 hour together. I'll charge you X amount. We'll do 3 times a week. And so I needed the social aspect of that to grow and develop that. So I think it was a balance of both. Yeah.
Yeah. Run fast, lift heavy, look good naked. It's blunt. It's to the point. It's just, that describes you too. You're very just blunt and to the point, which I think people appreciate. You're funny as shit. I love your longer form. We call it long form, but just longer reels where you get to actually hear your voiceover, get to know you a little bit. Talk to me about like that kind of tagline. I mean, I've seen it in your bio. I've seen it on your website. It's kind of something you're running with. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I think that not to generalize, but I feel like most people that come to me with a health and wellness objective, they'll give me 15 different, reasons they want to either, lose weight, gain weight, be healthier, have better numbers, metrics, whatever it is. But more often than not, they really just want to look better naked, right? Because I think that if we can stand up in the morning, just bare ass naked, look in the mirror and be like, yo, I would date the hell out of myself, then you are going to have a better day. I really think that's the case because, to an extent, that's something you can't really buy, right? Like, sure, there's little cosmetic improvements that people can make if they want to do that. But end of the day, like a truly healthy body is something that just takes time. It's time, it's effort. It's like investing in the freaking S&P 500. It's going to be good. It's just going to take a long, long time. And you can't look at it as days. You got to look at it as months and years and decades. And so, that when I figured that out after taking on a lot of sales calls for my online business, I just started saying, like, do you just want to look good naked? People are like, oh, actually, yeah, that's basically what I want to do. And I was like, oh shit, new tagline. And so that's kind of what it is, And when I very, very first got into the running, I really thought that I could just lift all the time. I could run all the time and it's all going to follow itself. And then you get older and you're like, oh shit, like my body hurts, And so that was something I trademarked and developed early, 3 years ago or so. And I think it's still going to be my thing. It's just, if people want to talk deeper about it, I'm like, okay, now I actually have to decide how often I want to run, how often I want to lift, depending on races and whatnot, like everyone will have to deal with. But it's, again, shock value is important, I feel like, and you got to have something with the top of funnel. And that's using my top of funnel approach is like, look, if you want to look good naked, let's have a deeper conversation about it.
So I've been following you probably maybe 2 years now, but I've got to see the process of you opening the new gym, Performance HQ. Congratulations on that. That's fucking huge, phenomenal. Talk to me a little bit about what's the idea and the concept behind this gym that makes it different than something else out there, and how long have you guys been open at this point?
Yeah, so this, I'm trying to think how we truly started. Basically, I would say, I don't know, year and a half ago, there's a group of like 4 or 5 of us trainers that were working at a small independent gym here in New York City. We came together and were like, hey, what would it take for us to create our own gym, right? And truly the thought process behind it in the beginning was that, for me personally at least, I was just really comfortable in my day-to-day life. So what I kind of like to do each either birthday or start of the new year, they're kind of in the same time period, as I like to look over my last 365 days and be like, okay, what are kind of my highlights, right? What are the highs? What are the lows? Let's think about what that is. And it got to a point where 2 years in a row, I was just kind of doing the same thing, which isn't bad. It was great. Like I had a comfortable life. I was making plenty of money. Like I was able to travel. Like I was able to kind of do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I wanted. And it was fantastic. But and I'm sure you're probably similar. There's always this like voice in the back of your head of like, okay, well, like you're kind of wasting your potential, like it's great what you've done, but what if you could do more, like what if there's more to this, that you're not untapping, and that voice always kind of gnaws at me and annoys the hell out of me, because comfort is so great. Comfort is in my mind. It's like, it's great. I just want to do this forever. Like no responsibilities. I don't have to answer to anybody. I'm just untethered and it's fantastic. But got to a point where I was like, all right, I got to make a change. I got to do something that my future 70-year-old self would be proud of. Because look, if I want to be comfortable, like New York's probably not the best place to do it because it's just so damn expensive, And so I was like, I need to make a move. And so 5 of us trainers got together. We're like, look, let's try to start a gym. Why not? And then over the course of the next 4 months, looking at spaces, like people just fell off, because it's hard. Like starting a business is hard. And full transparency, if I would have known how much it took, like the day we opened, if I would have known everything I knew the day we opened, then when we started thinking about this, I would have done it. Awful. So much money, so much time, so much stress. My cortisol levels were off the charts. But anyway, so these trainers fell off. And at the end of the day, it became just me and my business partner, now Ben. And so me and Ben were like, we're going to figure this the fuck out, right? Like we're going to figure out what's going on. We're going to try to make it work. And our real goal from the beginning was we wanted to make a space that truly embodied, how we approach things. The goal was, yeah, we're going to deliver a great workout and we're going to have knowledge. We're going to have, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but, I'd like to think I'm semi-intelligent. So we're going to offer the intelligence that most people need to see results and progress. But we want it to be fun, right? We want the experience to be the leading factor, not necessarily, the fact that we're an MD or a doctor, whatever it might be. Like we just wanted to have a really good experience, but also, cater to the upper echelon, if that makes sense. Like a lot of our clients are have a high value clients. We want them to feel taken care of. When you walk in, we want it to have like an Equinox feeling, but more of a boutique style. As that's what we set out to do in the beginning. And am I glad we did that? Like, yes, but financially it probably, it was a much more aggressive decision and it's going to take a lot longer to make our commitment back. I mean, our objective going into this thing was to all in. We thought that our all in budget would be about $250K and we're approaching like 650 as of now.
Yeah,
how much
they usually say at least double it, probably triple it, and it's gonna be closer to what you think.
Bro, like, dude, there was a point last summer where I think 5 weeks in a row I was writing like $10,000 checks, and I'm just like, each time it's like a knife being like, and then turning, I'm like, am I gonna have to go back to OnlyFans? You know what I mean? I was like, what is going on here? I'm gonna have to start selling my body. But
Yeah, at least you got the backup plan with the underwear history, so you're good.
you've
Always
always
something
got
to
to have
lean
a
back on.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a very stressful time. I'm very thankful for my business partner, Ben, because I'm usually pretty calm, but it's because I live a pretty low stress life. And so when all that stress was introduced, he was the one who would kind of talk me off the ledge and be like, look, chill, one day at a time. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. So he was huge during that entire time. Like, if I would have been doing this on my own, bro, no shot. Like, I would have burned that
Yeah.
place to the ground as soon as I had the opportunity. And so, yeah, it was probably, we took over the lease in March of last year. And then we were under,
Okay.
it was a nail salon. So it was a bling lash. So we took over the lease in March. And from March all the way to, I guess December 1st, technically. We opened up technically December 1st, but it was like half of a gym at that point. And then we finished it all out in probably January 15th, mid-January. And then we started group fitness classes in late February. So I would say officially open January. And so what is that, 6 months? Are we in June right now? Yeah, about 6 months. Yep. And it's been, you know how it is, dude. It's like, and the beauty of this has been anytime I talk with someone who does run their own business, you just automatically kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what the other has gone through. And it definitely heightens my respect for others that have done this because, bro, you don't know what you don't know. Like the amount of random shit that I had to learn about like building code, how much poundage per square feet you're allowed when it comes to a gym versus an office space. And then like, what is your building zoned as? And then how many risers do you need for toilets and showers? It's like, bro, like it's stuff that I never thought that I would need to know. Like I'm just a gym guy. You know what I mean? I want to talk about fitness and macros and do some bro science. That's all I want to do. But instead I'm over here Bob the Builder style, like in learning about how much weight per square foot we can handle. And so that inner voice in the back of my head, though, he's sure overwhelmed. He's like, "Oh well, we're doing it." And at the end of the day, I think that's that's all I can do. Like I'm gonna bitch about it all day. I'm gonna complain about it a lot, but I'm not gonna stop doing it. Because that, in my mind, that's worse than anything else. Like quitting, giving up, or just walking away from something like this. Like that would be the biggest hit, just to my overall confidence, ego, and I don't want to say legacy, but like my future self would not be pleased with that. And so really it's nice because I know what I have to do each day, show up, do the best that I can, try to handle as much stuff as I can throughout my 12, 14-hour day, go to sleep, rinse and repeat.
I can only imagine having to deal with real estate in New York. What did that look like, man, when you were trying to locate first of all, where do you live in New York? Can you kind of explain, like, as an outsider from New York, we see in the movies, we're like, all right, the 5 boroughs, like, kind of the general areas and vicinities, but you don't know in depth. So where do you live? Where's the gym located? And why did you choose that location for the gym?
Yeah. So at the time I was living in Chelsea. So I was on 23rd and 7th. So that's like, Times Square is like the iconic spot. That's 42nd and like 7th-ish, I guess, 42nd, 7th. So I was kind of straight down from there.
Okay.
The gym, our goal, because New York is interesting, right? Everyone stays in their little neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like if I was living in Chelsea, I'm probably not going to go to like Fi-Di to train because that's 20 minutes on a train. I ain't got time for that shit. Right. So everybody kind of stays in their little box, if you will. And so the gym that we were at previously was on 14th and 5th. So that's Union Square area. I'm not really sure how to explain that to somebody who hasn't. Anyway, it's Union Square. Okay. And so our goal was to stay within the vicinity of Union Square. So Union Square is here, right? 14th and 5th. We looked at gyms kind of all around that. So we would go over to like 6th or 7th Avenue, but we wanted to stay between like 12th and 16th Street. Because again, most of our clients are just in this vicinity where they can get there easily. And so our goal was to make sure we didn't lose all of our business in the pursuit of finding a new gym. Because that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like
so realistically, when you're thinking about it, you're looking at like how wide, like a 10 by 10 block radius, or is it even smaller than that?
Even smaller, bro. Like probably two avenues left and right, and then 3 streets north and south.
That's wild. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. And look, I've only been here 7 years, but I feel like I'm pretty accurate on this. Like people stay in their area unless you deal with somebody who just is the best on the planet, maybe, I don't know, but I'm not there. I don't have to deal with that. Like no one comes in from Queens to train with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, it's got to be easy to get to. It's got to be near a lot of the trains. And we have both of those. So we have easy to get to. It's in the center of Manhattan. And it's it's right off pretty much every major train line that you can find. And so our our gym is literally one avenue over from our old gym. So 14th and 5th is where the old one was. We're on 14th and 6th now. So it's, maybe. And so that was our goal, really, was to stay as close as possible. And we looked at probably 3 or 4 spots in that area. The issue with Manhattan real estate is it's crazy expensive, even during the COVID times, which we were able to talk down our monthly rent quite a bit more than it was initially worth, which is that was huge. But it's really hard to find like first floor, right? Like ground level. We looked at one ground level spot that was like 20, I think it was 25 to $30,000 a month just to have it. And it was big. Don't get me wrong. It was massive. But I'm like, bro, no way. I'm going to go bankrupt. And so we ended up finding this spot that was on the second floor, which again, not ideal, but dude, you're going to take off $10,000 to $15,000 off the monthly price. And it's like, okay, that we can work with, The other hurdle you have to deal with in New York is that most of these places are small, right? Like our original gym we were at was like 10,000 square feet, which is unreal. But their monthly rent's like 40, 50K. It's ridiculous. We went down the street. Our space has 2,200 square feet, I think. And we're getting at a steal of like $8,000 a month. And that'll change every year. But we got it at a really good price, really good deal. And, just full transparency on the numbers. Like I was paying $3,500 a month to train my clients at the old gym that I was at. And so in my mind, I was like, hey, look, worst case scenario, let's say once we pay off all of our debts and we pay back our loans, I'll only be spending like $500 more per month, to keep the lights on at least. And so that was kind of the thought process behind that. But we're very fortunate. Again, some of our clients, they're in the real estate game, they're real estate lawyers, they work for real estate companies. Like they were able to set us up with a really great broker. I have some tax lawyers that are clients of mine. They were able to help us out a lot with like the taxes and setting up our our S Corp and everything like that. And so it truly did take a village. Like we didn't do it on our own because I don't think we could have. So it took a village. We had great people we could lean on. And at the end of the day, again, it's just like every day we had to wake up, do our best, try not to have a mental breakdown 3 times throughout the day, and then go to sleep, wake up, try again. That's really all it is,
The life of every business owner pretty much in the game, especially one working in New York with the real estate and everything up there, man. After being there for 7 years, is New York the end all be all for you? Do you think you'll ever leave? Obviously you have, big commitments there and you want to continue to grow there, but like, do you see yourself there forever or maybe just a stepping stone for future things? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a stepping stone. I grew up in Lubbock, Texas, but I truly grew up in a small town called Shallowater, Texas, which is just a little suburb of Lubbock. 3,000 people were in the town. So I grew up in a small Texas school. Like, dude, I loved the way that I was raised. Like, I think that, and again, maybe it's not for everybody, but I feel like that was a truly incredible childhood where I was able to still be a kid, not be surrounded by all the craziness that is New York. I was able to still be a kid, make my mistakes, do stupid shit, but I was able to play a lot of sports and, be exposed to, a lot of different types of friends and friend groups. And I don't know, I really liked that little kind of, micro world that I was able to grow up in because I think it cultivated just a lot of really good opportunities for me. And so, no, I don't plan on raising a family in New York. And that's famous last words of a lot of New Yorkers, but it's too expensive. The city is a little bit stressful right now. Like it can be kind of crazy. And I really don't want my future children to be exposed to any of that, to be honest. And so I've thought a lot about that though. I mean, because we're essentially on a 10-year lease with the gym, 30 right now. We're only 1 year in. So we got like 8 or 9 years more. My true hope over time is to get to a point where the gym can almost run itself, right? Like I think I'll always have a few clients that I'll train, but dude, like the ripping, 7 to 10 sessions a day is a young man's game. And I'm not saying I'm old or anything, but it's like, I know that I have a finite amount of energy and I still have quite a bit now. Like I feel great throughout my days and I still love what I do, but it's like, dude, I don't want to be a 50-year-old personal trainer who's grinding out 7 or 8 sessions a day. That's not really my dream. And again, anything I do, I think it'll always be related in the health and wellness field at some point. But what I value the most is freedom and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. Right. And so it's interesting. I feel like throughout my life, I've had this like rubber band effect. I'll get comfortable. I'll enjoy where I'm at, but I'm like, okay, well, this isn't the top of the mountain for me. So I got to stress myself out a little bit. So I'll embrace discomfort. And then the hope is that eventually that discomfort becomes comfort. Right. And that's probably how you're going to grow and develop, just learn a lot of new things. But yeah, I don't think that I'll be here forever. I don't know when I'm going to leave though. I know I want kids,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful because as a dude, I have a little bit more, leniency when it comes to the timing of that.
Sure.
So I don't really know, man. I think eventually I
Yeah.
will leave, and struggle would be I'd probably want to go back to, because my parents are in Oklahoma. Like I'd probably want to go back to the Midwest, like either Oklahoma or Texas, something like that. And that'd be obviously tough to run a gym from there. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit to something that I just learned about, which was this Do Hard Shit series with Spartan. This
Yeah.
little mini series that they did, man, which was, I guess, how long ago was this? Was this like 2.5, 3 years ago at this point?
3 years ago. Yeah. 2021.
Okay.
Kind of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was like a mini series. Was this a partnership that you had with Spartan, and were you like really into Spartans at this point, or like how the hell did this thing come to be?
Bro, not at all. So what happened was during COVID, like 2020, right? When every brand wanted to go to the digital fitness route because they saw what Peloton was doing. They're like, yo, we need a digital platform so people can work out with our instructors however they want. Basically what happened is Spartan hired a guy who knew a couple of my friends and was like, yo, we're building out like our own little team of group fitness instructors that are going to do it all virtually, right? So it's like we would go film for Spartan. They would video us doing the workout, and then they would put that on the Spartan platform. It was on the Spartan app. It was called like Spartan Plus, or something everybody else was kind of doing at the same time. I was one of the guys that they recruited for that, which was great. Like I loved doing that. Again, it was group fitness. It was definitely my speed. I was kind of missing that from leaving Orange Theory because they had shut down, and so I really enjoyed doing that. Well, I'd never done a Spartan race at this time. Like I'm terrible at bodyweight stuff. I have the grip strength of a small child. Like I have short arms. Like I'm built kind of like a T-Rex. It's not ideal, And so they were like, all right, check it out. We want all of our Spartan trainers to go and do these races. And so a couple of the other trainers had done them. They did just fine. They reached out to me. They saw that I was a little bit more of a runner. And like, look, I wasn't a runner to the extent that I am now. I was just running a little bit more than normal, and I posted a lot about running. And so they're like, oh, you're a runner. You're probably good at this. You should go.
They threw you into the ultra, bro. I saw the ultra, right?
Dude, that was my fourth ever Spartan race. But bro, the first one that I did, they sent me to Jacksonville, Florida, hot as balls. And they put me in the super elite category. Bro, the first race I did, there were 6 of us. Okay?
Oh,
6 of
shit.
us.
Yeah.
5 best in the world, and then me, who I don't know what the fuck's going on. They did it in a certain like a track style. So you had to run like 4 laps, and there was like 15 obstacles per lap. Dude, I got lapped by everybody. Like people are watching, they're like, who let the freaking Make-A-Wish kid into this? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I was like, I thought that I'm pretty in shape. These guys are freaks. And so I did the trifecta that weekend. My hands looked like bloody stumps. I was destroyed. After that, because they videoed it a lot. Like they had the Buttery Bros there and a couple other guys that were videoing it. And they were like, yo, those videos we got were great. We want to do a mini-series. Like, would you be interested in doing a mini-series where we send you and basically do all this hard random shit, and we want to video the entire thing and put it on YouTube? I was like, that sounds epic. Hindsight, I should have negotiated like triple the amount they offered me for that contract, because I almost died like 3 times. Like there were 3 separate events where I was like, this is it. I'm done. Like call my mom. But yeah, dude, they threw me into the ultra. At that point, I had never run more than 20 miles. A casual 10-hour.
For those who aren't familiar, it's like a 31 or 32 mile course with what, like how many obstacles? 70 or something wild?
Too many. Yeah, at least I think it's like 30 something per lap, and then I did 2 big laps.
Wild.
Yeah, I ended up running like 36 miles because of penalties and like getting lost. Like, dude, that was I felt like my hip flexors are just gonna fall off, dude. And they put me on a 6 a.m. flight the next morning. I almost just stayed in Montana. I was like, I'm just going to live in Kalispell for the rest of my life. Like, dude, that was awful. So hard. It was a great experience. Don't get me wrong. But after that, I was like, this is not for me. Like this, whatever this sport is with the crazy running and all the opposite, like it's not something that I ever want to like be known for,
I saw that they also made you compete against an NFL player for something. You know what I'm how was that? Did you hold your own, or did you get humbled in that experience?
Bro, they set up Kurt for failure, poor guy. I mean, he's a monster. You probably saw him. I mean, he's like 6'5", and at the time he was probably 230 or 40. Yeah, he's a lot leaner now, and he's a much better runner now. But dude, they put us in an event where it was a lot of running. So we did DECA Fit. So like, yeah, if we would have like wrestled or something, I would have died, no chance. But DecaFit, it's kind of like a mini High Rocks. Like everything's just cut in half. It's like 500-meter runs, and then you do a bunch of events. And so
Okay.
I was able to win on that. But it's like, bro, I mean, the guy's, he was 30, 40 pounds heavier than I was. And I don't think he ran much at that time. Like he's a whole different animal now. But also the nicest guy. Like he looks like Predator because he's got like long dreads and he's fucking jacked,
He
And
does.
he's like,
yep.
"What's up, man? How you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." It's like he's so great. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was cool that I got to meet that guy. That was cool. And then I got to play with the New York City rugby team. That one was harder.
I was about to say they threw you into a rugby scrimmage as well, right?
Yeah, that one was tough because I got tackled a lot. But it was fun. They were really nice guys. And then swimming with sharks was interesting. I thought that would be a lot more terrifying, but it went fine. And then, but dude, the worst one by far was the death race. Like the death race was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Is that the Montana one, or what is that one?
No, so the death race was the one in Vermont. It's at the Spartan. It's where Joe DeSena lives, I believe. And so what it is it's essentially you spend like 3 days just out in the wilderness, right? And you have to bring everything with you. So basically, they send you a list of things that you need. You just bring it with you, and you live off of that. And I didn't take it seriously because, again, the whole premise of this show was they wouldn't really tell me what I was doing until I got to the place where I was doing it. So they sent me this list of stuff to get, and it's like the most ridiculous list in the world. Like one of them was toenail clippings. I'm like, this is a joke. I'm not doing this shit. This is dumb. Like they're playing a joke. So, dude, I bought a Lululemon. I had a Lululemon backpack, so not a hiking backpack at all. Nothing for shoulder straps or across the waist or anything like that. And then I got like a bunch of beef jerky and bagels, and then most of the survival gear that they needed. And I went out and had to spend, I think it was 65 or 66 hours in the freaking Vermont wilderness. Thank God it was summer. Otherwise I would have froze to death and died. But yeah, dude, I don't know how much experience you have with sleep deprivation, but that was the worst I'd ever hallucinated and just the worst I've ever felt for a 2.5 day period or however long it was.
So they didn't let you sleep, or what exactly were you accomplishing when you were doing this?
That's a great question. I wish I could tell you what the hell it is. But dude, it felt a lot like a mixture of like Navy SEAL training where they just made, like, I probably did 10,000 freaking burpees. I was walking 45,000 steps a day. We're just hiking the whole day. Like we're always doing stuff. They made us carry rocks up a mountain, like just ridiculous things. And I think the whole purpose, because people pay for this, which I couldn't believe. And they train like all year for this, which I don't even know. I honestly don't know how you would train for something like that, aside from just trying to see how long you can stay awake. Like, I mean, I guess like 100-mile ultra marathon would be the closest thing to get you ready for something like that. But dude, yeah, it was tough. And I will say, I came out of it. You have a newfound respect for how tough you really are, you know, like, and like, I remember coming back from that thing, and a lot of the stuff that I thought were my big problems in life, I was like, that's not a big deal. I just survived 3 days in the wilderness, on bagels and beef jerky, like I'm good. And so it definitely sets a lot of things in perspective for you, I think. But just from chatting with a bunch of people that were in the race, who were not happy that I was there, because I definitely brought the team down due to my lack of preparedness. But they were all, those that succeeded in this race, they were all going through something really, I think, really traumatic in their lives is what it seemed like. And so each of them were kind of battling their own demons. Meanwhile, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Like, this is great. Having so much fun. But yeah, so it's, I think it's a good challenge that some people should do if they're really battling some shit. But I mean, bro, prepare. It's not for the faint of heart,
It seems like that's a common theme for the ultra runners, ultra scene, any kind of long-term endurance event like that is like, these people are fucked up. They got some issues they're dealing with. Even myself, I'm like, I got some demons, but like not like some of these folks, bro. They're going some deep, dark places. And so talk about going to some dark places. You're a runner these days. You've run a couple marathons right at this point. You're the young Clydesdale running through the streets in New York City. We fucking love it. When did running kind of come to the forefront of your fitness journey and you were like, hey, I'm kind of fired up about this. I really have a passion for this?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, look, in high school, I was a pretty talented endurance athlete, pretty talented. I was a little bit above average in high school, right? So I was on varsity track and cross country, like as a freshman, and I was able to do pretty well in endurance sports. And I think I was just naturally disposed to being able to run for longer periods of time. And so I really enjoyed the endurance aspect in high school. That was a good time. But then, as most guys do, like I wanted to focus more on like football and baseball and basketball. So I gained quite a bit of weight, my junior, senior year, and I wasn't as fast. I was getting up to like 185, 190 pounds. Wasn't as fast. And it wasn't like a popular thing to do back then. Like everybody at that time, this was 2012, was doing CrossFit. They were doing bodybuilding. They were doing all those things. And so in my initial college years, I got big into CrossFit and then moved on from that. Got big into bodybuilding. I did steroids. I did HGH. I did all the things. Got freaking yoked. Just lifting a lot of weights. That was a lot of fun. And then when I came to New York, it was more about just like maintaining like relative leanness, year round.
Yep.
And I implemented a little bit more endurance training when that was going on, but again, never truly running. And then in when did I run Chicago? I think I ran Chicago in 2021. Yeah, it would have had to been because it was the first year that Chicago came back after the world kind of shut down.
Yep.
I ran Chicago, trained myself for it. I did okay, but I was like, okay, I have the potential to do something good for myself. Like relatively speaking, I have potential to do much better for my skill level. And then I really leaned into it. So I started running a lot more. That following summer, I joined the New York Roadrunners and just started racing. I signed up for like 8 races over the course of one summer. And bro, I was PRing like every race. I felt like a freaking god. I was like, this is amazing, and so I was killing that. And then that actually led to my online business really growing because I think it spoke to maybe, and this is before the whole hybrid athlete craze, right? It was before Nick Bare was like Zeus, right? And so it was definitely like a lot of people were like, okay, how do I balance out my lifting and my running? And for about a 3-month period, I feel like I had a really good grasp on what that was because I wasn't training for anything over a half marathon. Like everything was short, so it was relatively less mileage, so I could maintain the balance of the lifting and the running. And I think that's when my online business blew up, and I started getting a lot of clients because they saw that, hey, this guy's ripping out 18-minute 5Ks, and he's ripping out like 40-minute 10Ks, like this, and he's 200 pounds. It's like I resonate more with that, and so it really helped my online business. And then, dude, and maybe you know more about this than I do, but running just took off. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, running is like the sport. And I was just fortunate to be in a good position to work with some really great brands. And, as you probably do the same, it's like my social media is a pretty big part of my business. And it is a big financial part of my business. And I noticed that I was working with a lot more running brands, running companies that wanted me to promote either their product or just running or races in general. And so I was like, oh, I need to lean into this. I need to keep doing what I can do. And it made sense because I still really loved it. And I still do enjoy it. I will say that. I think eventually, maybe like after the Chicago Marathon this year, I'll probably take a couple of months to kind of just chill because I feel like for the past 2.5 years, it's been like I've been going hard.
Yeah.
And again, the body can only take so much. And as my responsibilities have increased, it just makes it that much more challenging to prioritize my own training.
Yeah, sure.
Not that I'll ever stop doing that altogether, but it started as a passion. I enjoyed racing. It helped build my online business. And then, brands want to work with people who are running right now. And that might not be the case in 5 years. So I want to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah. I've been riding the wave for the last year, bro. 100%. Yeah. For a while, I was like, is my feed and everything blowing up with running because that's what I'm putting out into the world? And so that's what I'm seeing? Or is it like this theme of more people getting on the train? And I think it's a little bit of both, but it's definitely blowing up, right? And thanks to Nick Bare and some of these people who are setting the precedent and trailblazing and saying, hey, you can be a ripped dude and still run not only sub 3, you can run a 245, you can run a 240, some of these other challenges, which is what I'm trying to do some fun stuff like that. And I know you are too. I'm curious, are you trying to do a sub 3 for Chicago, or like, what are your current goals for Chicago right now?
Yeah, I think if I put together a really good training block, a sub 3 is very realistic. I think so. I did a 308 in New York last year, and that was probably the best conditioning I've ever been in. Like that was an incredible race. I felt great the whole time. And have you run New York? Have you personally?
No, bro. It's probably New York and Chicago are my 2 highest bucket list races right now, just for the environment. Like I ran Boston this year, and that was my first major. So I got to experience like what it can be like. And I just want to knock out Chicago and New York. So I'll be doing those probably in the next 2 years or so.
Yeah. So, dude, New York probably. So I've done Chicago and New York, right? And I think New York has much better energy because you'll be hard pressed to find a point in time when there's not a big crowd. I mean, over the bridges, obviously, but when you're running through the streets, like there's people everywhere. It's incredible. It's an incredible feeling, but it's a hard course because all the bridges make it very difficult. So the elevation gain and whatnot makes it a lot more challenging. Whereas Chicago is just flat. which is awesome. And so I really think that if I can bring the same conditioning package in that I brought last year to New York in for Chicago, then I think I could rip down a sub 3. But dude, who knows? As you know, it's like every training block, there's probably going to be some aches and pains, some little injuries here and there. And it just depends on at what point in the training cycle does that happen. And can I battle through that and come in race day feeling good? But right now, my big goal is Chicago. I want to do at least one sub 3 in my life. And then I'm doing a half Ironman the week after that. But that's my girlfriend and her dad are doing the half Ironman. So I really just, I want to participate in that with them. And so my goal for that is just to not drown. Like, I'm a terrible swimmer. And so, the goal is to survive. And so I don't have any high hopes of running like a sub 5 or anything like that for the half Ironman. But, I want to dip my toe in that sport a little bit, see if I enjoy it. And if I do, maybe that'll grow some different objectives over the next year or two.
Yeah, you mentioned your girlfriend, Mallory. Is she a bigger runner than you, or are you did you get her into it, or vice versa? What did that look like?
Oh, yeah, bro. No, she's been an endurance athlete for much longer.
She?
If she's done 2 Ironmans, she probably started running a lot earlier than I have. And like on social media, she crushes it. She's very well known in the running community here in New York and probably around the nation. She has a massive run club that kills it. And so, I'm probably just a little more competitive when it comes to like the racing aspect. Like a lot of times I really want to go out and, PR and give it my all and whatnot. And not to say that she doesn't do that, but she's like good energy around it. And she enjoys the community aspect a lot. And what she's been able to build in the past, year plus has been freaking phenomenal.
She crushes it. I've loved kind of following her journey a little bit more recently. Are you homies in real life with Wolaco? You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, he lives across the street from me. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So I was curious if you had any influence on him to like start posting and start storytelling, because him and I, like last year, maybe around this time, maybe a little bit later, we had this like friendly rivalry where we were both at like 10K followers and we just started posting our journeys or whatever. And we were neck and neck for a while. And then he just blew past me. And I was like, all right, dude, you're crushing it with your storytelling. Like, you're in New York, you have everything going for you, crushing it. And I was curious about y'all's relationship and if you've ever kind of not worked together, but kind of just opened the dialogue and opened the conversation about content creation and how to go about it.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I would almost love to like be in that guy's mind for like 3 minutes, but I'm scared that I would get overwhelmed and get lost a little bit. That guy, dude, his storytelling's on a whole nother level because it's so just shotgun approach, no filter, and just like, like blow your face off type of stuff. Yeah, he's a great dude. He's very funny. I love like a good dry sense of humor, and he is like the definition of just really dry, deadpan sense of humor, and he's got an incredible flow, like hair-wise.
He does.
Maybe rapping too. I don't know. But yeah, with him, man, it's fun with other people that are in, and I wouldn't say that I'm like a full-time content guy. It's like I enjoy making content because I see the value in what it is, but throughout my day, it's not like at the forefront of my mind, And so I enjoy being around guys like a Wolaco, like this guy Sherv, like people who do full-time content creation, because I like hearing their side of things on like what their goals are and how they're formatting their stuff and what, basically just how they're trying to tell their story, because it's obviously a little bit different than mine. But what I really enjoy about being with those other content guys is just having like regular conversations as well, because I don't know if you've experienced this, but like with some people, it always feels like when they're hanging out, it's like a transactional relationship. It's like, yo, we're hanging out. You got a big following. I got a big following. Let's like take a photo and a video together and like make it seem like that we're homies. And like, I mean, that's cool. That's fine. But I would like rather just like be friends with these people,
Right.
Like I think Wolaco is a great guy to sit around with and just talk about. We've talked about so many different random things, like incredibly random. I think Matt Choi is another good example of a guy you can just sit and chat with for a while. Like he's a good dude to talk with. He doesn't seem like a douche. You know what I mean? Like he's just a nice guy to talk to. And so I like being around more people like that, And I don't like only talking social media. So if I can have like an actual deep conversation with like, I don't know, like what was your childhood like, like what do you actually enjoy doing in this world? Like, what do you love? Like stuff like that. But yeah, every now and then I like to just be like, dude, where's your head at? Like, do you take a lot of shrooms before you talk? I can't imagine traveling.
Some of his ideas and his storylines, you have to wonder because they're just like mind blowing. It's ridiculous.
I want to know about your childhood. Like, what went on in your childhood to make you talk? Like, what's going down, brother? But yeah,
is he doing content full time now?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, sick. Very cool.
I think he also like part-time DoorDash or Uber Eats or something. I don't know. He has a very unique life, And it's like, I just want to follow him around, not really talk, but just observe.
100%. I would love that. I would love a day in the life. I mean, he does do day in the life, but he tells the stories. I'd love to like fly on the wall day of life would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
I've tried to get him on the pod like 3 times, and he's like, nah, I don't really have any accomplishments. I'm like, dude, I don't care about what your running accomplishments are. You're just like this fascinating figure to me. I just want to hear about your life in general. So
Yeah.
we'll,
He'll
we'll
probably
make.
come on and just talk shit about himself for an hour, which that's just like what he does. You know what I mean? But it's awesome. He's a really good dude. He's awesome.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, man. You're almost at 100K, which is huge. It's a pretty big milestone in the scheme of things. So that's fucking awesome. Congratulations. And also, I want to say, I think I first came across your profile from Wolaco, and now I work with Wolaco a little bit and do the white list and all that stuff, which is great. Love the team there. What does that partnership kind of look like when it started? And obviously, you've used a little bit of that model history too, because you're like the poster boy for Wolaco, which is pretty badass. You're all over the site, just rocking
Yeah.
these tights, looking like a stud. How
Yeah.
has your relationship with Wolaco kind of developed with Terry and the team over the years? I know you guys just went to fucking like Puerto Rico or something too, which looked awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're great. And they're one of the, I'm very fortunate to work with them because they're one of the few brands that I've really just been with for a really long time. And I, you know, it was tough for me to find good running stuff probably 2-3 years ago, whatever it was. And then I was just fortunate enough to get on their PR list for like a gifting of some sort, and I tried the Northmore tights and I was like, these are the best thing ever. And so ever since then, I've just really annoyed the hell out of their team, trying to be involved in some form or fashion. And then I finally got some sit down time with Terry, and he's like, you've chatted with Terry, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, good dude.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. The guy, I mean, he's a slow talker. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell a lot of things are happening here, but he really takes his time in speech, which is great. But like with me, I'm like, get it out. Like, let's go, make it happen. And so I think we balance each other really well when we work together like that. Because I'll be like, Terry, we got to speed things up. He's like, yeah, but what if? And I'm like, Terry, I'm gonna punch you. But he's great, And anytime I get a chance to be around that guy, like I really enjoy it. And dude, I think that they're going to be like a huge, like just ginormous business eventually. And so with them, early on, I made it known that I wanted to just be exclusive with them. I was like, hey, I'm going to promote the heck out of you guys. Can you either give me a code or let me buy in, whatever? And so the last fundraising round they did, I was able to put a little bit in there. And so I was like, nice. I want some skin in the game, like I want to invest in the brand and I want to like be a part of the conversations that you have. And so that's kind of been what it's been, is, I'll shoot with them as much as they want, whenever they want, anytime they have a cool opportunity, like the Puerto Rico thing, they'll offer for me to come join them, which is always, a really good time. And I just genuinely love the product. Like, I really think that it's a one-on-one product as of now, at least. Like, I haven't tried anything better. Like, dude, bury me in the freaking sprint tights, I love them. I never thought I'd be a tights running guy. But that's almost primarily all that I run in anymore. I think the phone pocket's amazing. I think just what they have is amazing. The quality is amazing. And so I hope to continue working with them for a very, very long time. And yeah, I hope to just, keep growing with them as they grow and, hopefully be it like, if they ever want to develop like a tri-suit or like, if they ever want to move into new things, I hope that I can be somebody who tests a lot of that stuff for them and kind of embody what they stand for. And so they've been fantastic. I don't see myself ever not at least representing them in some form or fashion just by wearing their stuff.
Yeah. One of those reasons that I asked that question is because I want to see what partnerships can turn into. Like, it doesn't necessarily just have to be a creator brand partnership where it's like, okay, strictly a stipend or an affiliate of some sort or whatever it is. But like, to see you actually be able to buy in and get a piece, like that's fucking phenomenal, dude, that you had the access and you had the connection and the relationship with Terry to make that happen. What have you learned from working with brands over the years that's kind of stuck with you along the way, as far as experience share?
Yeah, I think, man, the brand stuff is tough, right? Because there's two sides to it, right? Side one is if you're just looking for a cash grab, then it's work with as many brands as you can and essentially become like a mercenary. It's good for making quick money, but I don't think it's good for, establishing like confidence with the people that do enjoy your content and they do look to you for maybe advice or some sort of influence, right? So I've done that before where it's just like, I need financial, but you work with like 17 different brands and people are like, what are you doing? What's going on? You're just a mercenary.
Right.
And so what I've enjoyed about Wolaco is it's like, I feel so confident talking about them, wearing them, repping them, like promoting them, because it's part of almost my everyday. It doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, whatever it may be. And so my goal for the past, I would say, 6 months or so, is to just work with more brands like that, where it's like, when you think of this brand, like Wolaco specifically, I think I've done a good job with. Like, you think of that brand, and hopefully I'm one of the first 5 people that you think of with Wolaco. Because to your point, you go to their website and it's just me, right? And part of that is because I have so many freaking tattoos. Like, it's probably easy to tell who I am. But I want more of those relationships because, again, I think that it should, for longevity, for the purpose of longevity, I think that those are going to do a tenfold return on your investment. And so, in talking with like the people who I value their opinion, it's like, I want to work with more brands like that. I want to be able to just promote like 4 or 5 different things in my life. And that be all I'm known for. But it's tough. Like, you probably deal with it as well. It's like, yo, if somebody drops a new shoe, like, yeah, I want to try that fucking shoe. Like, you kidding me? Like, send me the shoe. But it's hard not to then appear like you're just grabbing whatever. So I don't know. I think it's always going to be evolving and it's always going to be changing. And I do know that most people are getting tired of ads. That's for sure. Like, people don't love ads. They don't perform well, as I know. And so if I can find different things that just fit into what I authentically already do, like Wolaco is a prime example. I can just throw that, I wear it all the time. So in a voiceover, I can just casually mention that without it being like, what you need in your life. Right. And so I think the more you can come across authentic and it just seemingly fitting into your day-to-day life versus having like a hard sell type situation, that'll probably be better. But dude, what do I know? You know what I mean?
A little bit, a little bit, but man, I think that's a great way to wrap, man. I got a couple more questions, but I want to be conscious of your time. So we'll cut it there. But if for anybody listening isn't familiar with you and your content, where can they find you?
Yeah. So, I'm primarily on Instagram. It's just TWFrank111. I think it's the same on TikTok. It might be TW Franklin 1. I don't actually know. I think it's the same on TikTok, TW Frank111. And those are my 2 primary like social media stuff. For if anybody's in New York, obviously feel free to come take a class at Performance HQ. It's on, it's on Google, it's on all the SEOs and whatnot. So you can find that pretty easily. And it's obviously linked in my social medias, but yeah, that's about it.
Dope. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Chase, thanks, man. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being flexible on timing. Thank you.
Absolutely, bro. Good luck with the hair plugs.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks.
All right, y'all. That's the pod. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please do us a favor and subscribe, like, comment, share, all of the above. We're trying to reach more people who are interested in that casually ambitious lifestyle, and you're going to help us do it. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.